Hi there, it's Sarah of Get Weaving. A bit of a catch up. I've been working on the fabric for this little camisole in the background here. The mock-up's made from linen. I'm doing a version in hand spun singles, mixture of silk and vegetable fibres. I've got it on my 16-inch rigid heddle loom. So this is the fabric on my loom. It's all singles. The warp is a big old mixture, so they're here. So there's milk protein in here, soya bean, mint fibre, all sorts of interesting things. So this was the warp, and it was spun on this little Nano 2 using a power pack. Absolutely brilliant. Took this on holiday. Fantastic. So I made a sample, which is here, and washed it. So I set it quite loose, quite open on a small sample loom, and then washed it. So you can see it's got a bit of a stripe in the warp, completely randomly. And then the weft is silk noils, which is this. It's got a bit of texture to it, which is really nice. So I made a sample, as I said, set very loose, so there was no friction on it, and washed it, and it closed up really nicely, and it's a lovely piece of fabric, very soft, got a nice drape. So I've put, I think it's 120 inches on here, and it's the whole width of the heddle, because as you can see, it's quite open. I didn't want any friction on the warps, and I've only had 2 breaks, so I'm really pleased about that. Now this is all I've got left of the weft, so that's why I'm measuring at the moment. I'm down to sheet number 1. As you know, I've put numbered sheets of paper on, so I know I'm on the last sheet. And then if I have to spin some more, I've got some idea how much I need. Now I've got yarn counters. This is the electric eel one, so that measures in yards. This one is the one I got first. This is a Stanwood yardage counter. This one measures in meters. This one's better for chunky yarn. It's got a bit more space to it. So that one I had to order from USA, but they're both really good. And it gives me some idea how many yards or meters I've got of my warp, so I know how much more to spin. I also use this. This is my Ashford 60-inch niddy noddy. So I know that one round of that is 60 inches or 1.5 meters. So if I count when I'm winding this off the bobbin, this is plied, another project, then I've got a rough idea how much yarn I've got, which I find really useful. This little Nano, absolutely brilliant. The only problem I found that was sometimes the feet fell off. If I didn't take it off the table in the right direction, they slid off. So I bought a spare pack from Amazon. I think there's about 20 in there. So I keep that. I thought just in case I go out and I lose a foot, as you do. So going rather from one extreme to the other. So I've got a silk vest on the go, and I'm also spinning yarn for a coat. So we had a dyeing day in the summer. This was 3 colours, I think. I've got a list somewhere anyway. Dyed in a pot and then put in the microwave. Acid dyes. This is a Merino Cross Shetland fleece bought from the Summer Wool Festival in Milton, Bedford, this summer. Used to be called Fibre East. I have to try and remember that. It's beautiful, beautiful fleece. So this I've sort of divided into colours. So that's 2 of the hanks, because each pot I dyed came up slightly differently. It's about double knitting weight, something like that. So this is for the warp, along with some grey. Now this I bought again from, well, Fibre East when it was about 5 years ago. So this is a Jacob Cross from the animal sanctuary. So they rescue sheep and look after them, give them a good home. So that's what the fleece was like. Gorgeous, really easy to spin. Sometimes I card it and sometimes I just draw it out by hand. Really lovely. That's what it looks like. Spun, plied, not washed yet, so it's still slightly greasy. So the warp is going to be stripes of purple and grey, and then the weft will be all grey. So again, this is where this niddy noddy comes in handy. This is one of the hanks for this. So I've been working out, I think I need a 350-inch warp for this coat. So I basically need to make sure I've spun enough, and then I'll probably do roughly the same amount for the weft. Just to be on the safe side, to get the set right, I've been making a little tiny sample. Now this is a band loom from Bulgaria. I was given this years ago. Somebody's painted it, it's rather nice. Just for weaving bands, but it's adapted slightly. So what I've done, it originally came with like 2 shafts. You can still get these. I saw them the other day on Etsy, I think. And a beater or a reed. But as you can see, the warp would have to be quite fine for that. So this was the piece that it came with. So it's got, you can see it's got very fine cotton for the warp, but I want to be using my hand spun. So what I did was take that whole center section out, and I've clipped a section of rigid heddle in there instead. That's 7.5 to the inch, and doesn't look very exciting here, but I didn't want to waste any, so it's just a really short sample. So I'm weaving this again. The warp isn't too close, because although it's plied, I still don't want any bother with the weaving, and it'll wash and close up a bit when it's washed. So it was probably 20 wraps to the inch, but I've set it at 7.5, so it's got plenty of breathing space. So I'm going to take that off today and give it a wash. It's a big enough piece to tell, and then what I'll do is take it off, draw around it, wash it, draw around it again, and see by how much it's shrunk. So I'm making a coat a bit like this: V-neck, optional collar, long sleeves, button, band, pockets, go days. And because I've been asked, I'm putting together some patterns that will be going up to 4XL. They'll probably be on 2 sheets of paper. So that's what I've been working on lately. So I'm going to be making some new patterns like this with a few more sizes on. And then I'm going to be upsizing some of the old favourites. So something like these two. Very simple shapes. This one particularly is good for beginners. Or you can also make a short top. So on the back it shows you how much fabric you need. Now I often get questions: what yarn did you use? Was it 8/2s or however? I'm afraid I don't use any of those numbers. I do wraps per inch because I just find that works. If I've got hand spun, or if I've got a ball of yarn that's lost its label, or a cone from an odd bin somewhere, or something off the guild sales table that's really ancient, I just find wraps to the inch, wraps per inch works for me. And a small sample if it's important enough. I don't really do hit and miss these days. I think if I'm spinning all this, I want it to work. I don't want it to come up too small. You've seen one of my videos how to rescue piece of fabric that was much too small, but never mind. So I'm going to be upsizing some of the favourites. I'll let you know when they're available. I'm going to be, if I'm doing a new pattern, I'm going to try and put a few more sizes onto it. So it's taking me a little bit longer because I want to make sure the proportions are right and the shape looks nice. Some things you can't just make bigger without actually doing something else to them as well. They're just not very flattering. So that's what I've been working on lately. So apologies, it's slightly screwed up, but this is one of the mock-ups I've been working on. So it's a tunic, short sleeves, there might be a long sleeved option, centre front and centre back seams, darts, and I've put godos in. So one of my friends at the guild was kind enough to try this on yesterday. I just wanted to see roughly how it was looking. This is a size 2XL, and I'm going to make the godos come up slightly higher. Pardon me, as you know, I always make a mock-up for a new pattern. I can't recommend it enough. You need to know that A, you like it, B, it fits, what you need to do to alter it, rather than just launching into cutting up your lovely hand-woven fabric and hoping for the best. It doesn't work. So I've been using linen lately. I bought a few meters of linen because it hangs really nicely and it's nice to work with. And if I make it properly with overlocked seams and all that sort of thing, I could actually wear it. So I know I used to recommend calico, but then it's just this thing that goes away in the drawer with writing all over it. So I've decided I'm going to make the mock-ups from linen instead. And then somebody can wear them, even if I don't. So this is going to be one of the patterns that goes up to 4XL. I wanted to check, that the neckline sat properly and all those sort of bits and pieces. So hopefully that'll be okay. I've also been doing a little bit of teaching, which has been lovely. People come here with a loom. For years, I don't know, weaving seemed to be a bit in the dark in this country. I remember there was a lad in Yorkshire when we were up there and he said, oh, my grandma worked in a mill and she hated it. And I thought that's still in people's memories, is that weaving was hard work, badly paid. So what we're doing seems probably a bit frivolous, but I'm making my clothes. I think there's nothing wrong with that. So I still start off with a scarf for most people, then they go home and finish it. That's the idea. And then if they need any more help, they come back again. So set up in an hour and a half. Off they go, weave it at home, come back. Recently, a lady came back. She wants to make some sort of more like tapestry cushion covers with lots of colours. So she had a 10 dent heddle. So we threaded it up at 5 to the inch. So it's hole and slot, miss a hole and slot, so that the weft can really completely cover the warp. And I showed her what a tapestry beater looked like, so you can really get the weft down in quite tight. And she sent a picture of that, which I'll add in a minute. Ever so pleased with it. So it's lovely. My friend Elizabeth and I used to be the only people weaving at our guild, and now there's about 6 or 8 regulars, which is great. I'm not working on my own anymore. So, as usual, today what I'm wearing is this one, DR001, Shetland and Silk Warp, handspun singles, Shetland weft, dyed in a pot, like rainbow dyeing, sprinkle all the colours on, dye it in the microwave, and then you get all these lovely random colours. So it has big pockets, it's got waist tabs, it's got go days, but I can't show you those. Bit more flare around the hem, ever so comfortable. I've made so many versions of this. So I've made other dresses. So like this one here has a centre woven section and then linen on the edges. Then I've made tops. This was sari silk on the variable dent reed. Where is it? That one there. That was done with pickup stick weaving. That one's rag weaving. So when I get asked exactly what yarns I use, I generally give a description of the fibre and the wraps per inch. But the idea, as far as I'm concerned, is that if you have one of my patterns, you can make it as many times as you wish in different fibres, in different colours. If you like, change the length, change the sleeves, so that you can use one pattern over and over again. That's why I always recommend making a mock-up first. So you get your pattern, you do your measurements, you make your mock-up as close to your size as you can. You then do alterations to your mock-up. You know, if you've cut the neck out and it's too big, it's very, very difficult to put right. So fiddle. Some people I know have said, oh, I think that's a waste of time. Well, I don't. I make a mock-up every time. And because I'm now making things in linen, if I finish the seams off and do it in the appropriate colour thread, I can wear it. So I don't think it's ever wasted. And it just means that when you cut your hand-woven fabric up, you don't really have to make any alterations. Obviously, the drape might be slightly different if your hand weaving is slightly heavier, but it'll give you some idea. How long are the sleeves? You know, is the waistline in the right place? All those sorts of things. So the girl who tried this on yesterday is probably 4 inches shorter than me. So for her, we would need to lift the waistline, which would lift the go days and put them in the right place for her. So it's all those sorts of things. And it's important. None of us are straight up and down. So it's, you know, are the shoulders the right width? Is the armhole the right depth? It's all those bits and pieces. I'm also wearing wristies. My friend Elizabeth made me these. They're alpaca. They've got thumbs, but I generally don't use them. It's got a lot colder. So having these on in my shed makes a massive difference. But of course, I can still work. And I also have, I have them on my ankles, but without the thumbs. So they're basically just sock tops. Makes a huge difference to not be cold. Well, that's about it, really. So I'm working on getting the vest finished because we have a show and tell in January. I don't think I'm going to be modelling it, though. I'm not going to get the coat finished on time, so I'll probably have something else to show, which is lovely. I still get ever so nervous, though. It's really funny. I've been going to the Guild since 1981, and I still get all tongue-tied. Never mind. So as soon as these new patterns are ready, I'll put posts on Facebook and Instagram. And what else was I going to say? Oh, I don't know. Not to worry. Have a nice day and happy weaving. And I'm posting patterns out tomorrow. And I will, just keep you up to date with what's happening. I did have somebody say to me, though, can I really go back to basics? In other words, what is wraps per inch? How tight do you do them? How close do you do them? So I'm probably going to do a little video because I do this so often. I sort of forget that for somebody who's a complete beginner, I mustn't take anything for granted. So I think the next one I'm going to do is really going to be about wraps per inch, what the different samples will look like. So I'm thinking of weaving a small piece on a small loom and changing the heddle so that you can see what happens to the fabric as it goes along. Oh, I've got one here actually. So this is a mixed warp, all sorts of things in there, and a ribbon weft. Now this is for dress. So originally, because of the wraps, it worked out at 7.5, but this is too stiff. So I unthreaded it from the back, put a different heddle in, and this is 5, and this is much, much nicer. It's for a summer dress. So I'm going to do something about that, making sure that you've got the right heddle size and what the fabric looks like on different size heddles, because it's not something that you just know instinctively. Right, that's it for now. There are links at the end as usual with my calculations sheet, how I do that, useful bits of equipment, all that sort of thing. So have a good day, keep warm, happy weaving. Bye now.